All right, so let's start with the news, which there is an awful lot of news, of course. Probably the most amazing stuff is this stuff here. As you know, Trump implemented enormous, what he calls reciprocal tariffs. It has come out that these are based on a crazy formula that has nothing to do with anything reasonable and was not even correctly calculated anyway. And enormous tariffs on other nations. And he seems to think, hello, what's up?
Hi. I'm in your 197 class.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, I didn't know if you got the paperwork for email.
Yeah, I'll check tomorrow. I haven't looked yet. Let's get, if you emailed it to that address, cnet197@gmail, it should be there. But you can turn it in on paper if you want to. It doesn't matter.
Okay, do you want me to give you it?
Doesn't matter. I'll probably, if you emailed it, it should be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, good. Thanks. Yeah, good, sure. All right, that reminds me, the midterm grades are out. Anyway, I'll bring that up again later. Anyway, here, so the stocks plummeted for the last couple of days because of Trump's huge tariffs. And then today they recovered because they said, oh, the tariffs have been delayed for 90 days. But that turns out to have been a fake Twitter post from someone pretending to be Bloomberg, who wasn't Bloomberg. So that shows, how desperate people are and how much confidence they do not have in the government and how shaky everything is. We are being led by a mad king. Nobody understands what he's doing. He doesn't understand what he's doing. His economic plan is based on a book from a nut who falsified his sources. Nobody actually believes any of this is going to do any good. Nobody that knows anything about economics, but they're all afraid to contradict him. It is a thing that's happened many times in history when you have an infant as a king, like a 2-year-old or a 5-year-old, or a person who's demented, or a person who is just crazy in some way, which happened, this led to the American Revolution. The King of Britain was insane and did terrible things, and now the United States king is insane and doing terrible things. So when China retaliated with his tariffs, he now says he's going to put tariffs on China over 100%, taking effect within a couple of days. So, as you probably know, we import everything from China. I don't think anything in America can be built without imported stuff from China, so this will create huge hardship. And Trump seems to believe it and think it's perfectly fine. He's retweeted twice a video saying he is deliberately crashing the stock market. He intends for the stock market to crash. He intends to form a global, cause a global recession, and it's all part of his master plan. So I don't think it'll be possible for Congress to reverse it within less than a few months. And it will probably take longer than that for any of them to dare oppose the king. So we're in for a very hard time for the next 4 years in America, I think. Anyway, so also an entertaining thing is Trump thinks he wants to put a tariff on fentanyl. He doesn't seem to understand that illegal drugs are not passed through the normal economic system and you can't put a tariff on them. But he's also claiming that Canada is the source of our fentanyl, which it absolutely is not. But as everyone's known about him for decades, facts don't matter to him. He just makes up stuff, and whatever he makes up, he regards it as the truth. All right, and so inside, RFK Jr. is continuing to run things. Yeah, nobody has any idea why a global recession would benefit anybody. I have seen some very creative people make up stories, how this could be part of a way to make a new global order to replace the previous one which he's destroying. But he hasn't said any of that, and his advisors hadn't said any of that. There's no vestige of any coherent explanation of how any of this would help anybody. Just a sort of lingering sense of grievance that Trump has. He believes, I heard a good example on the way in. Your coffee shop, you're in a trade deficit with your coffee shop. You go there in the morning and buy coffee, but they never buy anything from you. Trump thinks that that's someone abusing you. So if we buy stuff from China, but China does not buy much from us, he thinks that means China is abusing us. Whereas I think a more accurate explanation is China is selling something we want at a good price, so we buy it. But he thinks we can't have a trade imbalance with any country, which is insane. There's countries you buy to and countries you sell from. But he's treating that as them abusing us by daring to sell something at a desirable price so we buy it. So I don't think you're going to find any logic anywhere in this. A few extremely diligent people are trying to make up excuses for Trump in order to try to stay in his good graces. But there's no plan. There's just crazy ideas from a crazy man. And a whole bunch of people are too afraid to resist him. And the same thing can be said of the Health and Human Services. At our health department, they've been sending you notices like this. You got a reduction in force memo, say you have been laid off due to reduction in force, and then they sent them an email saying your RIF, they made mistakes and were reinstating you, but the document they sent said, there it is, NIH leadership has directed you to return to work. Your RIF notice is not canceled. So the first sentence says you have your job again. The second sentence says, no, your position has been eliminated and you don't have your job again. And this is why everybody in the entire federal government is pretty much just totally lost. No, the people that accepted the early retirement that was offered do not know if that's in effect. They don't know if they should show up to work or not. They don't know when it will take effect. They don't know whether or when they're going to get the money they were promised. And their bosses don't know either. They don't know who's on their team. Their bosses don't know if they're fired either. So they've created just this insane situation where I don't think anybody at any level of federal government has any idea what's going on. And none of this is going to save any money, by the way. It's going to lose a ton of money because all the lawsuits and chaos is going to create a huge debt for a while, and they've just fired the people at the IRS. They're not going to be able to collect tax revenues. So it's just government by madmen. And also it's doing a lot of permanent damage. For example, there's a bunch of data sets here which the government has archived from hospitals and stuff, and they can't transfer it to any other person because you can't back them up, you can't move them to any other agency without renegotiating all these confidentiality contracts with all these companies, and they aren't getting any time to do that. They're just firing everybody. So it looks like all these medical databases covering all these important medical research topics are just going to be destroyed. So like I say, 75% of research scientists surveyed last week said they're trying to make plans to leave America because you can't do scientific research here anymore. They're cutting the grants, and they're also enforcing political correctness on you, so you have to not find conclusions that they don't like. So it's they're damaging us not only now, they're ruining our allies and our economic ties to other nations that hold us up, removing the dollar from being the global world currency, and ending our scientific research, which means that for a generation, we will be behind everyone else. So I think we've decided to not be the dominant nation on Earth anymore. We decided to be a nation ruled by lunatics like North Korea, where we just spend our time alienating everyone and destroying ourselves, and China will inherit the Earth. Chinese government is far better than ours. Obviously now, they are far more moral, far more effective at protecting their citizens, and they are going to be the world leader. We have just abandoned the position because we prefer to destroy ourselves for no apparent reason. It's very strange. My friends in Europe said in the last Trump administration, it's like watching the collapse of the Roman Empire. We had everything, and then we threw it away for no apparent reason. Anyway, it's pretty, they arrested these people for scams that got $20 million, and they really did the kind of stuff. I'm hearing a lot of these scams like this. They, it's a cryptocurrency investment scam, and they started these things with romance scams, and they made all kinds of great things, romance baiting, and people posing as financial advisors. Then they used artificial intelligence to create fake ads showing celebrities and national figures recommending these products. You know, the scammers are using AI to make much more effective scams, and it's working to steal large amounts of money. So, all right, and it's also cutting CISA. The second round of layoffs is firing off another 40% of the workers at CISA, the cybersecurity protection agency that has really done excellent work. Unfortunately, CISA also was responsible for election security, and the head of CISA said that the 2020 election went to Joe Biden, and that is now forbidden. History books will have to be rewritten. It is now forbidden to say that that Biden won the 2020 election. And if you say that, Trump will destroy you, and that's what's happening. So anyway, it looks like CISA is going to be also thrown into chaos, just like all the medical government agencies in America, because both of them are no longer considered politically attractive. So it's a sad time. I highly recommend going out and protesting if you can. I was out protesting like everybody else on Saturday. 2% of the entire American population was out there protesting, and this should be more and more and more. Though anybody that can afford to should really go out and make your presence known opposing this Nazi regime destroying our country. The sooner the better. I understand a lot of people have reasons why they can't afford to take that risk of retaliation, but if you can, you should. Anyway, I'll stop this.